So last week, my talk title was Let It Go. And we had a lot of fun with it. We learned a lot. But what we discovered is that there were a lot of ways to interpret the phrase, let it go. For instance, Amy sang that wonderful song last week. All of you parents of little girls appreciated it. That song, Let It Go, from the movie Frozen. And it was all about let your passion go and let your uniqueness shine and really being who you came here to be. And we liked that one. We could have spent the whole morning talking about that. This song just backs it up as well. But what we discovered also is that there are other interpretations of the phrase let it go that we needed to explore as well. For instance, we talked about letting it go as in not taking things personally. You know, so often the things that we get upset about is because we think that someone or something is deliberately doing something to us. Can anybody relate? But then we talked about maybe perhaps the idea is that because we're in partnership with the divine, that we are one with the all and everything, that maybe those things that we think are happening to us are actually happening for us, for our soul's growth, for our life's evolution. And if indeed that's true, then maybe we can more easily let things go, let it go, because we trust that whatever is happening ultimately for our greater good, even though we can't see it yet. That make sense? Yeah. We also talked about the benefit of letting go of things that simply just don't serve us any longer. That might be old memories, it might be people, it might be habits, it might be material goods. We talked about the idea that everything is made up of energy. I mean, science is backing that up now. Everything is made up of energy. And when we hold on to things that don't serve us any longer, they become like these inert little balls of stuck energy that keep the divine flow from flowing. And when we are able to release them, now I'm not saying any of this is easy, but when we are able to release them, those stuck little bothersome things, it opens the flow back up in a myriad of different ways, like health and happiness and even prosperity. We find that when we don't let go of things, it also blocks our flow of good, of prosperity. We also discussed how often we refuse to let things go because we don't like change. Anybody here besides me not like change particularly well? But what we know is that change is normal. Change is natural. For instance, we explored the arduous process that a caterpillar goes through to become a butterfly. Now, the caterpillar doesn't know why it's doing what it's doing when it goes into the cocoon, but there is something within it that knows that what it's about to emerge is something greater. So we applied that to our own lives to realize that sometimes it's necessary to let go of something lesser in order to make room for something greater, even if it means uncomfortable change. I found this great quote by C.S. Lewis. He says, "It may be hard for an egg to turn into a bird. It would be a jolly sight harder for it to learn to fly while remaining an egg." We are like eggs at present, and you cannot go on indefinitely being just an ordinary, decent egg. We must be hatched or go back. Yeah? Yeah, I know. So after last week's talk, about 60 of us gathered at the center on First Street to do a releasing and a birthing bowl ceremony. We had wonderful music. Thank you again, Amy, for providing music. And there were lots of tears. And there was laughter, absolutely. There were stories, there were prayers, there were shared memories. And then everybody had a chance to write down what they were ready to let go of. And when they were ready, and only when they were ready, they took their papers to the candle and lit it on fire and dropped it into the burning bowl and watched as that thing they were ready to release simply disappeared into smoke and ash. And then they walked over and picked a flower representing newness and representing growth. I think anybody who was there would agree that it was very meaningful. It was a powerful experience. It was for me, for sure. All week long, I felt much lighter and more optimistic about things. There's a famous mystic who said, Anonymous is his name. It says, sometimes you don't realize the weight of something you've been carrying until you feel the weight of its release. Isn't that true? Go like this. Because we're not done yet. I named today's talk, Let It Go Some More. And this interpretation is actually considered a bad word by some people. People in my former congregation call it the F word. And that is, dun, 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 da, da, da. It needs to be shaking. Now, most people who are on a spiritual path, I'm preaching to the choir here, most people on a spiritual path know, at least intellectually, that holding on to resentment is not good for us, right? Right. We know that intellectually that it harms us, but knowing something in our minds and knowing something in our hearts and living from it are two different things, aren't they? And the reason for that is, even though we're on the path, we are on the spiritual path, many of us, myself included, feel as if our stories and our subsequent resentments are part of what defines us. You know what I mean? And because they help define us, we're reluctant to let them go. Am I right? I mean, who here doesn't like to tell their story about how she did me wrong, about how he broke my heart, about how mean they were to me? It's the stuff country western songs are written about. And the truth is, just like Amy's song earlier before the service began, sometimes it's true that people do not behave well. Sometimes people do awful things to other people. And when it happens, it's natural to be hurt and to be resentful and want to make the other person pay. The problem is, having resentments doesn't make the other person pay. In fact, if the person is as bad as we think they are, they don't care. Am I right? They're not losing sleep over what it is that they did. But those old stories and those old resentments are staying with us like those little balls of energy, and they are harming us. They're keeping us from peace of mind. They're affecting our health. They're keeping us from finding happiness. And isn't that what we want? Don't we want to be peaceful, to live a life of peace? Don't we want to be healthy? Yeah? Yeah. Happy? Don't we want to be in harmony with life? The challenge is that everybody says, forgive. Everybody says, let it go. And we're like, how? How? Ernest Holmes says we spend far too much time in theory and not enough in practice. I need tools. Tell me how to do it. Well, I have a few for you. In fact, it's a list of them, and I made copies of the list, and they're in the back too. So if you want to spend some time with this after today, you can. So here's the first one. Be open to the possibility of changing your beliefs about forgiveness. Let me tell you what I mean. A lot of people think that forgiving something is actually a sign of weakness, that somehow they are giving up, or they're giving in if they forgive. But Gandhi said, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. Yeah. Forgiveness is an act of strength. It is saying to the situation or to the person, I am stronger than this. I am better than this. I am stronger than this hurt. I am an expression of the divine. And I choose a higher path of forgiveness. The second one, hard. Be willing to let go of being a victim. I'm the first person to admit that sometimes it feels really good to be a victim. Sometimes it feels good to tell the story, to get the attention, to get the sympathy, am I right? But eventually, if we are going to be happy, if we are going to be healthy, if we are going to live in harmony, we have to let go of our victimhood, of our victimness. There is no value in self-pity, none. Choosing to be a victim is choosing to suffer, period. Remind yourself that your anger and judgments cannot change the past or punish anyone else, but they can hurt you. We just talked about that, right? We also think that holding on to our resentments and our righteous anger is somehow harming the other person, but it is not. Like I said, oftentimes the other person doesn't even know that they've hurt you. Or if they do, they don't care. There's a wonderful saying that says holding on to resentment is like taking poison and waiting for the other person to die. Don't take the poison. Take the antidote instead, which is the F word. Forgiveness. Here's another hard one. See the value of giving up not some, but all of your judgments. Okay? I'm judging those of you who aren't laughing. No, I'm just It's no coincidence that the happiest people on earth are those who choose not to judge. I've told you all before about a woman from my former center in California who lived to be 100 years old. Now, she was, I miss her a lot, she was one of the happiest, one of the healthiest, and one of the wealthiest people that I've ever known. Because she worked every day of her life to let go of judgment of other people. And trust me, she did not start out life peaches and cream. She was a daughter of very, very conservative Russian Jews who had immigrated to the U.S. When she was a young teenager, she was raped and became pregnant. She endured the public humiliation of being an unwed mother as a result of rape. This is in the 1920s, by the way. She had the baby. She gave her up for adoption. And she was ostracized and belittled by her mother for the rest of her life. But she learned at a very early age that judgment and resentment didn't serve her. And she went on to live a very rich, very happy life. She was an absolute gem. She was a light in the lives of anybody who knew her. And she lived to be over 100 years old. A testimony of that belief of not judging people. The next one is recognize that holding on to anger will not bring you what you truly want. This is basic metaphysical teaching. You can find this in the first few pages of any New Thought, metaphysical, spiritual book. And that is, if you want peace of mind, you can't hold on to anger. If you want happiness, you can't look for all the reasons that people have done you wrong. If you want love, you cannot harbor hate. So get very, very clear on what you want, folks, and let go of the things that don't support what you want. The next one. Realize there's no value in punishing yourself. Self-forgiveness is a big part of this as well. But there's no value in punishing yourself because you are worth so much more than what those old feelings and those ideas are. You are part of the infinite intelligence of God. Your life has value. With mistakes, without mistakes, your life has value. So stop using that sledgehammer of resentment and anger to punish yourself. Let it go. Allow that act of forgiveness to bring you what you deserve, what you want, and that is love and happiness. Go like this again. Because this one's a toughie too. Know that forgiveness means giving up all hope for a better past. It would be cool to go back and change the past, but you know what? You can't. The past is past. Your experiences, good or not as good, have helped formulate who you are today. And who you are today is pretty spectacular. So honor and accept your past. Forgive your past. Embrace the present, what is happening now, and look forward to this fabulous future that you are creating with your thoughts right now. What is happening in your life right now is a result of everything you have thought and experienced up until now. You want to know what you're thinking about? Look at your life. What you are thinking today is what is giving birth to this future that we are walking into one moment at a time. So the next one, this one's hard too. Choose to be right. Excuse me. Yeah. Choose to be happy rather than right now. You may be thinking, as obviously I was, but I am right. And you might say, damn it, afterwards. I am right, damn it. So what? Maybe the person who harmed you thinks that they were right too. Remember, people are doing the very best they know how to do. If they knew better, they would do better. So even if you are right, and you probably are, is it worth being unhappy and unpeaceful? In the big scheme of things, doesn't happy trump being right? Next one. Believe that you have the power to choose the thoughts you put into your mind. Believe that you have the power to choose the thoughts you put in your mind. Ernest Holmes said, you are the only thinker in your mind. And Jerry Jampolsky, who is an expert on forgiveness, said this: perhaps the greatest gift we have been given is the power to choose loving thoughts rather than angry ones. Your mind is not a dumpster that will remain unaffected by the trash you put into it. Treat it like a garden, and it will blossom. In other words, choose. You have the choice to choose what you plant in the garden of your mind. And then the last one. Be willing to choose peace of mind and believe that forgiveness is the key to happiness. Regardless of what's going on around you, what may or may not have happened in the past, you can choose peace. You can choose not to let other people and other situations determine whether or not you will be happy. Because the bottom line is anger, judgment, unforgiving thoughts make us suffer. Letting them go brings us joy. So I'd like to take us through a brief meditation. And Steve, would you come up and do a little kneeling on the piano? Surprise! You forgive me, don't you? This is a Buddhist meditation on forgiveness. Its Sanskrit word, or its official word, is the Metta Sutta. We also know it as the loving kindness meditation. So if you're comfortable, close your eyes. Just allow yourself to be open. Taking a deep breath and let it go. And just feel yourself beginning to let go of any emotions or thoughts are staying with you. Just let them go. Just be open to these words that I speak. If anyone has hurt me or harmed me, knowingly or unknowingly, in thought, word, or deed, I freely forgive them. I too ask forgiveness if I have hurt or harmed anyone, knowingly or unknowingly, in thought, word, or deed. And from your place of meditation, I'm going to ask you to repeat after me, either out loud or in your mind, these following phrases. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free. May my friends be happy. May my friends be peaceful. May my friends be free. May my enemies be happy. May my enemies be peaceful. May my enemies be free. May all beings everywhere be happy. May all beings everywhere be peaceful. May all beings everywhere